What's happening, Guardians? This is Eraddicus with Uniquely Average Gamers, and we are diving into the new raid that came with Expansion 1 for Destiny, and that is Crota's End. Now, this baby is about a day old, so disclaimer up front, know that everything you're seeing does not represent the only way to do something. I'm going to do my best to kind of show you what worked for our group, and the way that we kind of divvy up roles and responsibilities, and some of the cues and things we look for based on the mechanics you encounter. First things first though, congratulations! You made it to Crota's front door. What you'll see is a circle on the ground. That's actually what you'll use to open the bridge, but if you're impatient, go ahead, throw yourself off, and treat that as a sacrifice to the gods to bestow upon you a wonderful and fruitful run. Okay, that was a lie, but I won't lie to you anymore, I promise. So, as you see at your feet, there is this circle that is glowing brighter and brighter, and it's forming the bridge in front of you. It does not matter how many people are on it, but it's important just to remember what this shape looks like, because you'll see it in the raid once you get down there. So you'll know it's fully formed when that structure appears at the end, and this is the simplest part of the raid. Walk forward and fall. If the expansion didn't give it away in the name, you'll see now that it is very dark down here. Now there are going to be two big components to this section. The first is a debuff called Weight of Darkness, and as soon as you enter the darkness, you'll see it stack up from 1 to 10. Now it only has one main purpose, and that is it slows you down. It makes you heavier. You walk slower, you can't jump as high, and you can't double jump at all. So you'll see it start to build up on us now. But good news, there is light down here. As soon as someone gets close enough, you'll see this pillar of light activate and the stacks of Weight of Darkness start to dissipate. Now, the biggest thing to keep in mind about these poles is that after 20 seconds from the moment they turn on, they will explode. And if you're nearby, they will one-shot you. If you're right outside the range, sometimes they'll just blow you really far away off your path, and that just makes it more difficult for you to get back. So what we found most helpful is to have the first 1 to 3 people who get near the pole to turn around and help clear the way for the rest of your team who's trying to make it to the pole before you get close enough to actually activate it, so that you all get the maximum amount of time possible to remove these stacks of Weight of Darkness for you before you have to move on. As you can see, this all moves pretty quick and requires a lot of coordination from you and your team, because you don't have a lot of time to stop and consider everything happening around you. The longer you have to stay in one place, the more that the mobs will amass on you, and that makes it harder for you to progress, so on and so forth, just compounding pain. So this is where communication is a big thing for your team. You want to make sure that the first couple people who get to the pole can spot and make sure they know where the next one is, and they can also spot for things like this that you just saw, which are these giant holes in the ground where the thrall will spawn from. Because of how chaotic this is, I would recommend that amongst your group you don't try to designate roles of who gets where first, but instead you have people just very ready to look at their map and understand where they are in relation to your team, so that they can make the decision to know that they need to be the one looking for the next pillar, or they need to go back and get someone else, because as you'll see here, someone goes down and you don't want to remove the ability for the next pillar to benefit everyone by having somebody go and activate it preemptively. So it's best to do your best, hold out, and utilize whatever wave clear you can until you can get that person revived, and then you can rinse and repeat. Make sure you're clustered near the light, be ready to find the next one, and move on. As far as what we brought to this section, we really just left it up to each person individually to determine what they're most comfortable using in a close quarters, low visibility situation. As a group, we did find though that snipers and rocket launchers felt a little less effective, but you might find that those work great for you. Spec-wise, again, we left this up to the individual. As long as you understand your class, you'll be fine, but Hunters rejoice, because Blade Dancer kicks ass here. you have a really nice ability to jump in between targets and get the most use out of it, and you generate a ton of orbs for your team. So we had a few Blade Dancers, and then obviously our Warlocks were in Nova Bomb for the quick clear, and we even had some good luck with our Titan, who used the Helm of Saint 14 with Ward of Dawn to blind enemies that entered it, and that worked out pretty well for us a few times when we had these big groups cluster on us, and you could kind of delay their advance on you by letting them push into the ward. And that is really the extent of what got our group through this hazy maze here. Just a lot of communication, staying real close, and sticking to these pillars. So, a few more pillars left to go. Keep an eye out for all those holes, and you will make it to the end, where there's a fun holdout coming up. Finally, we've made our way through the maze, and we are greeted with a familiar shape from earlier. It is a circle, and a circle is a good shape, because as we saw in the beginning, that's what opens bridges. So as soon as your group has removed the weight of darkness from you, feel free to jump over to the circle, and you will start forming the bridge for the way forward. At this point, it's just a good old-fashioned holdout. We have our Titan throw weapons of light on the ground so that we can get that added bonus of damage, and we make sure that at least someone is standing on the disc to get the bridge going. Now what'll happen is adds will spawn from every other direction, so what we did is we split into 3 groups of 2, and we had each group face one of the major directions that is not the bridge. So, as adds spawn, the left and right sides seem to be pretty light, so the people in the middle, it just helped for us to have them call out when heavier waves were coming. And those heavier waves do include knights and ogres, so make sure when they show up, you get to focus firing. Because if you don't have enough to pay attention to, keep an eye on your combat log, where it usually shows you who's generating orbs of light, and who's picked up what, found all that good stuff, because that is where you'll see when the way forward is ready, if you're not actively looking behind you at the bridge. If you're not a fan of reading, then make sure you're listening closely, because the game has a nice little audible cue that will tell you when it's time to move forward. And that was it. But you'll notice that we didn't notice it, so we spend a little extra time here clearing out the ads, but the important thing is, if you notice that, you need to book it. It's time to turn around and run for the light. As long as one of you can lug yourself across this bridge and hurl yourself into the light, congratulations. You've just finished the first section of Crota's End. And there you have it. Hooray! Remember guys, this is just the way that worked best for our team, so by all means get out there, keep experimenting, see what works best for you guys, and if you find a more fun way, we're all ears. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please hit that like, comment, subscribe button. We appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time.